Welcome everybody to another DoneJS contributors meeting. I guess we've been asked to not waste time going through statuses, so I'm going to get it going really quick. My status for this week is I worked on some CanJS performance issues. I added an observable, or I added a what I called in CanUtil a CID set and a CID map. These actually, in browsers that support it, just default to map and to set, the native map and set. But if those don't exist, it uses the CID on an object, which is like what we call is like I forgot, it's like a client ID or just like a unique identifier we add to every object so we can uniquely identify it. It'll use that. So my goal is it's someday I'm not going to work on this completely right now, but my hope is that eventually we could get rid of the CIDs decorating all of our observables and objects with CIDs because, well, with set, map, and weak map, there's really no reason for it. I started evangelism, and I started also doing reaching out to find people who I can do user experience testing on our guides on our website. I got like 100 people interested in doing it. I went through about 70 of the 100 emails to find people of all skill levels. So that is my goal for next week, to work on that stuff and get out 3.0. Sureth, you want to go next?
Yeah, this week I didn't do anything actually. Like, I didn't do anything contribution, but I was working on I was trying to create an app using the CanJS framework, and you can find it on my GitHub.
Cool. If you want to share that in the meeting notes so that we can check it out.
I didn't get it, Justin.
Can you share that in the meeting notes so people can check that out? Can you add it to this?
Yeah, sure. I'll put that in the meeting note.
Cool. Awesome. Can't wait to check it out. Matthew, you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been working on a couple things. There's a Still.js training called the MyHub training where you build an app with a couple of pages, which kind of shows off most of the features of Still. So I created that into a guide, and it's going to be part of 1.0. It's going to replace the progressive loading guide because it overlaps. It's kind of a similar sort of thing, but it just kind of shows off a few more features. So I'm wrapping that up. So I need to update one slide, I believe, for the actual training. Now I've also been working on this bundle depth issue that a user has, where they wanted to specify a bundle depth of 1, which means don't make any shared bundles, and that was not working correctly. I can go into further detail after, but kind of have a solution in mind for that. Yeah, and then next week I think I'll be working on allowing the user to specify a dest folder for Still tools. We're kind of migrating away from bundle path as a configuration. That will still exist, but more towards like specifying a dest folder, and then we're going to do some cool stuff there. So that's what I'll be working on a little bit later today.
Awesome. Manuel, you want to go next?
Sure. So this week I've been working on getting the old CanJS. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. The old document.js theme working with VDocs. The goal is to be able to move the Still website to VDocs. I put a pull request. It's looking good now, and I'll work on getting that theme published and making sure that the Still.js website uses it. And also there is a plugin that creates a table of content. And we've been talking about making it so it nests the list when appropriate, so I'll work on that as well. Hopefully next week I'll probably be working on Still conditional and maybe some other VDocs related issues. And that's about it.
Awesome. Yeah, this is related to one of the topics that I'd like to discuss at the end of this, and also related to what Ilya is doing is what we should do with all the Steel dash projects that are not currently documented. We'll like Steel Socket.io. We'll talk about that at the end. Kevin.
Yep, let me share my screen. So the big thing that I did this week and finally got merged this morning was I replaced Grunt and Grunt Sauce Labs for running our tests with this, basically this 150 lines of script. So now there's in the test folder, there's a file called Test Sauce Labs that runs all of our tests and has all the different platforms that we're running. And you can see now in the main CanJS repo that all these browsers are working. You can see we just added iOS Safari, which is working. I have it scrolled exactly like this because IE11 is actually broken still. But so, and then if you look at one of our Travis builds, just to see, I can show you guys what this looks like now. At the very end here, you can see it running all of our tests. It'll first say what it's running, what the platform is, and then it gives you a link to the actual Sauce Labs job. And then this is the test file that it's opening, and then it'll give you the results. So you can see this is what a good test look like, where each of the browsers has passed, and then all of the tests are passed. And then the one where I just added IE11, you can see it looks very similar, except the IE11 one, 3 of the tests are failing. So then if you want to take a look at this, you can grab this Sauce Lab link, go there, and you can actually watch the test run, which is really nice. So you can watch all the tests running and see what's failing.
I see you're wearing the appropriate shirt today.
Yes, and I also remember that I have a Sauce Labs t-shirt that I got at some point that doesn't super fit, but I thought I would wear it today. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Jonathan?
So I've just been working through some bugs I found with Done Electron, trying to get that working still. I worked with Kevin yesterday, and he helped me, or he found a certain issue for me that I'm going to be working on today. So I'm going to be digging into Steel today to kind of add support directly in Steel for Electron. And that's it.
Cool. Ilya?
Hi guys. So I was working on CAN fixture socket on documentation, and then started to integrate to use it in our internal application called Bitcentive, and then ran into a problem where when I tried to mock socket connections, if I import a module that, let's say some model that executes a call to socket IO object and tries to establish socket connection before I fixture it, then test and demo don't work. And with this, we started to look at how to face it, and attempted to address this with Steel socket, with like inside a Steel socket package. Of me. Hello?
I think it's Mike or Justin is stuck.
Someone's stuck.
No,
Oh,
his
yes.
mic is dead.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Justin, your mic is dead. Yes.
Well,
Your mic.
oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'll go. I also worked on the testing stuff that Kevin solved quite elegantly now. I moved the CanJS website over to GitHub Pages, and I'm going to finish doing the same thing with DoneJS.com today so that we don't have to post it ourselves anymore. And then I also finished writing the updated release and maintenance guides. So if anybody is working on releasing and maintaining CanJS or the modules, that should all be documented with everything that's involved now as well. I think that was it for this week. And are you back?
I don't know, am I?
Yep. Yeah. I'm done. I think, Garrett, you're last, right?
Yeah, I'm last. So I'm just spent this week trying to finish up the new CanJS site before I roll off next week and make sure it's in a good place for the release. By the end of today, I should have the search, at least a working version of the search, implemented. Not sure how great it's going to be, but it's working now. So that's my day and the end of my week.
Awesome. Thanks, Garrett. All right, topics to talk about. The first one I want to talk about is just what to do with Steel, Socket, QUnit, Jasmine, etc. All those projects. They need to be documented somewhere. I think it is nice if we have, just like we've done with CanJS, a place for those on Steel.js. I thought the APIs, listing under APIs would be good. If we wanted a different section, I think that's fine too. But because Ilya is working on Steel Socket, I think it'd be good to, and Manuel is working on making Steel's docs work right now. I think it'd be good to have that figured out now, so Manuel can, or so Ilya, using what Manuel has done, can actually document Steel Socket IO.
Yeah, well, they are documented on the README, or at least they should be.
Yeah.
They're probably not documented well. Yeah, I don't know where to put them. I mean, I'm okay with putting them on the site, maybe under an ecosystem or something like that.
An ecosystem grouping.
Yeah, like I've expanded the groupings. Right now, I think there's just APIs and guides. The current version, and guides is way too much, so I've kind of broken it down. It could go under APIs. I don't know. My intuition is that the core Steel and Steel tools should be separate from the other stuff, because it's, the other stuff, a lot of the other stuff doesn't get touched almost ever, because they don't really need to be.
So we could do it under ecosystem. Would you want things like, what about things like Steel-less or CSS or the JSX and
yeah, they could all go there. Sure.
Huh?
Yeah, I think anything in the Steel org that we actually make an effort to maintain.
Okay.
Could go. I think that's, yeah.
It's interesting, like Steel Stash goes in both?
Yeah. Actually, there was a user who was proposing that we move it to Steel.js org, and I kind of argued against that. I kind of feel like that's more of a CanJS focus, because you could have a can, AMD, or a plugin for Require, and like that would not belong in Require JS's organization.
Yes, yeah.
It's something that
I think
it's case we're the same thing, so it's.
I think it's a special case where it's like back and forth between two of our own projects. I think it's actually okay if it would be in both. It's not, especially because if we're going to do things the same way that CanJS works now, you just point at a package and it gets documented, so it's not that big a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine. And once we have bit docs, Manuel.
This is mean mugging. Okay, and the only other thing is, just want to talk through some of the performance improvements, but that's kind of going to be a long, winding one. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up or talk about? Maybe CanJS, DoneJS? No. I was contemplating having Mick work on the slot content stuff. I don't know if he's not here. I was hoping, I don't know, because he's missed the meeting, but we will have space for him to work on things and do potentially like kind of a bigger style effort. I don't really know what to put him on if other people have ideas and things they'd like to have done. I'm sure he has ideas too, but.
Yeah, I think that should be up to him.
Well, kind of. I mean, we are the leadership of the open source. We should. I think we should take into account what people want to work on, but if we did, I don't think David and Kevin would be fixing IE 11 bugs for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, that's,
Forever.
yeah. There's important stuff that has to get done, and sometimes just somebody's got to do it. But yeah, try to take it into account.
Is there any more like func unit stuff that he could like? I know like some of the guys were having problems where they wanted to do what's Jasmine 2, or it was one of the new versions, or maybe it's QUnit, the new QUnit. Like, has we gotten that working yet?
I don't know, but to me, the big thing I would do if I were going to do anything with func unit would actually be fix this long-standing bug where if it's even on the website. Let me share my screen. I can probably will give me a little recursive. What I would fix a func unit, which has driven me crazy for a very long time, is this kind of thing.
I know, but I feel like we should prioritize bugs over features.
Well, is when QUnit, the new QUnit, be kind of a feature? I mean, to me, this is almost a bug. Like, this is super unexpected. Like, that you can't just do click, click, and you have to repeat because really the elements get cached. That's not how, it should do the selector every time it's going to do an action.
That's a breaking change, though, right?
It is a breaking change, but that's why we're still 3.0 pre.
Is it? I mean, it didn't work before at all.
No, it didn't.
Well, if you queried it once and you clicked it and that destroyed or hid the element, and then you clicked again, it broke. So you had to write the query twice.
You got to write it this way. I don't know.
So it didn't work before, and now it should work. I feel like that's fine.
It's super gross either way, and it's confusing. Like, you can see it up here. Like, what is that? I don't know. It bothers me. That's if there's one thing I would fix, it would be that. Just because I think it really makes like the experience worse, and you can't like write helper functions as easily. I don't know. That's something I dislike about something. But I am very interested in seeing the content stuff fixed finally. The slot replacement thing. I don't know. Anyways,
I would not call it slot. I would call it can slot or something like that, because there is a real slot. And
well, it's real slot, but there's not a real slot yet.
Yeah, there is. It's in Chrome stable.
It actually landed?
And Safari.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so they did away with what's it called, Ben? The content select.
You're right. That didn't. Yeah, slot is a new thing that's different.
They got rid of that. That's really nice, actually. I'm glad they got rid of that. The slot is going to be 1,000 times easier to.
Right. So you could already use it in Chrome and Safari, but you'd have to put our template into the shadow DOM.
I forgot what I called it. I think I called it template, right? So you would do it. This is one example where I did it. Or maybe we call it in views or something. But basically, you can pass different user DOMs this way. So instead of slots, I called it templates. So that would be probably safe. And I made it element, and I made it, I don't know if this is the right thing. I mean, we could just call it template. And then, but there's already a template tag, so that's why I didn't do that. I think there's a lot of discussion about the naming, but I think that the idea would really expand the capabilities of CanJS considerably. So, something to think about. All right, just the quick, I just want to show how it was implemented, the can util stuff. So this is, I just made this CID map and set it's pretty basic, but there's a get CID that either uses the DOM data ID or the CID, depending if it's an element or not. I'm sure there's probably a better way of detecting if something is an element. We probably could use that anyways inside CAN-util. And maybe within types or something. And then all it does is if there's actually a set exists, then CID set is just going to point to set. Otherwise, I make like a little constructor function, and it's just got this values, and this is where the set is going to take place, like the items in the set. And whatever value is being added, I get the CID, and I set that as a property on values pointing at the value. So CID is really our unique identifiers, and then I just implement, the methods that kind of matter. I didn't implement iterators and that kind of fancy stuff because we can't really use that yet. I don't even know, is there like, other than a try catch, is there a good way of feature detecting if you can use a for of loop?
Yes, symbol.iterator. It's in CAN-util already, in CAN-util types, I think.
That syntactically you can use you would just check the existence of symbols implies that for of works? Is that what you're?
Yeah, if there's a symbol.iterator is a symbol that is used for that's what for of uses. So if that exists, then
presumably for of works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to use a try catch and just like have some code that did it, and then if it didn't, it would just be like, oh, it doesn't work. But the other way sounds all right. I don't think it's actually necessarily better, but it sounds all right because there's a chance that you could have symbols, but not for of implement.
Well, not symbols. If you have to have symbol.iterator.
You could have symbol.iterator, so some engine could possibly not have for.
I don't know. Maybe.
It's possible. Anyway,
the
big thing here is like CID set. Like there was actually a big performance change. So actually, let me show. I made this CAN-JS benchmark to do MVC initialization, and this is like there's like 100 to-dos in it now, and it profiles just creating to do MVC and then removing it from the page and then creating it and then removing it from the page like 100 times, each time with 100 to-dos. And I'll actually show the profile here just because it's interesting to look at. So some stuff we can't really deal with, or there's not much we can do. So add event listener and cloning a node are the expensive things. But it's not like crazy expensive. It's not like they're that much more in time than a lot of other functions that called. But these two things, there's really nothing we can do about it. You got to listen to events. We could, potentially go back to. We could use event delegation to probably reduce this in the to-do MVC app, but the way, there's not much we can do here. Really, the big places where we can do stuff is starting to update bindings. This is, of course, the diffing algorithm. A little bit of diffing we do on event bindings. When it computes, rerun their function, they need to figure out what is newly observed and is no longer observed and kind of add bindings or remove bindings based on that. This is still this has kind of historically been a sore spot. It actually wasn't. I just found adding the CID set fixed what was a new sore spot. And I'll explain that in a minute. But now this is kind of back to the slowest performing thing. I did notice that something wasn't optimized. I looked into this, and this is a really interesting. Apparently, because I'm using arguments to different places, this can't get optimized, which is really weird. I totally that totally shocked me that it couldn't optimize this. So I might have to make it so like it is observation stack. Like I'll end the curly here. So no matter what this is getting called, and no matter what the return is getting called, and another observation stack check around this. So like make 2 branches might make it so it's optimized.
Why can't it be optimized?
Because arguments is used 2 places.
How do you know that? I mean, what is?
So you can check the profiler and it gives you a little warning, and then they give these terrible, hard to understand warnings, and then you Google that, and that tells you.
Gotcha. That's the.
If you set arguments to variable and then use it twice.
I can check that. I don't think that would work. It's actually really confused. So the cases where you normally see bad context for arguments value, the other places it's like, oh, you're setting a function property or something like that. And, there's the other cases were actually very understandable to me. And then there was like nobody really there was always this third case that people list, and nobody gave really good explanations or how to fix it. So I haven't dug into it too much, mostly because it's not as, you know, impactful as update binding. So I've been mostly exploring using CID set to improve update bindings, but it didn't. It actually made it worse, much worse. So, you know, if I could improve this 50%, it would be like improving this 100%. So it's always, you know, what is it? Amdahl's law. If you're not familiar with that in terms of performance improvement, good thing to read about. No, I can't spell. Amdahl's law, something like that. Amdahl's law, right? That basically you should always target, you know, when you're trying to improve performance, try to target the things that are the heaviest weighted. And, you know, these things really can't be avoided as far as I can know. So you just start moving down the list of things that can be improved. So the one thing that I did improve with CID set that was the worst was actually, interestingly enough, was when we were setting up all of the mutation observers. So when we set up mutation observer events, I am using CID store instead of a normal object. And this meant that previously we were having to assign a CID on like kind of every element that we were listening to inserted on. And that was actually just setting up that CID or like that unique identifier property on the DOM. Because whenever you change a DOM property, it's really expensive. We don't have to do that now in modern browsers because we can just use the CID store, which ironically, if you're in a modern browser, doesn't actually set the CID, but whatever. That improved performance considerably. That like just removed, I forgot what was the most expensive, but I think it was just like setting the CID, and it lowered it so you don't even see it, and it was like #1 or #2 or something. So that was a nice performance boost. I'd say maybe like 15% faster overall for to do MVC initialization. Not bad. So that's really it. My next thing is I'm probably going to take this same thing to CanView Live or CanView Node List, because Node Lists also set these properties on elements. And it would be good if we just don't have to do that anymore. So that's all. Any questions about this or comments?
Sounds like fun.
It's fun until yesterday, where I spent all day working on trying to improve update bindings by using sets, and then it just made it way worse. That's the not fun thing about performance optimizations is sometimes you'll like have an idea, try a path, it'll take you a while to get working, and then it will not actually work. It'll make things worse. Oh well, it's still fun though, I guess. It's nice when it works. It feels good. Cool. All right, well, until next week, I will see you all later. Thanks for coming.
All right, thanks.
See ya.
See ya.